Hi, my name is Marty Rodgers, and welcome and good afternoon, everyone. And thanks for being with us for our fireside chat on diversity, equity, and inclusion, creating solution for the opportunity gap. I have the honor of leading Accenture's work in Metro Washington, D.C. and all across the South. And today I am joined by a remarkable educational leader with degrees from Alcorn State and Bowling Green, who has served as the president of San Jacinto College South, and she has also had a distinguished career at NASA before assuming the presidency of St. Philip's College. The entire Alamo Colleges system, of which St. Philip's is a part, has recently received the Malcolm Baldrige Award and the Governor's Award. Dr. Adena Loston is also extremely active in the community, and she would get a little upset with me if I didn't also mention that she's a very proud AKA. Dr. Loston, thanks for being with me today, and thanks for joining me to share some good news. We need more good news today and more good news across the board in society. And so thanks for joining me to talk a little bit about how K-12 and higher ed and business can come together in a public-private partnership to form apprenticeship programs and create opportunity and hope and wealth. Thank you.
And thank you, Marty. I'm excited to be here with you today and to share with you about this public-private partnership. It's a wonderful opportunity for us here at St. Philip's College. And as we have this opportunity, as I have this opportunity to share, when invited to be a speaker here, the first thing I do as a president is I always do the reality check. I go back to the department and I asked the question, so how are things truly going? Mm-hmm. And the first thing they said is, it's wonderful. Awesome. Dr. Loston, it is great. So I'm excited to share with you this afternoon.
Well, we love wonderful, we love great, and we love good news. So Dr. Loston, recently Accenture was honored to sponsor with the Chamber this and last year, the White House Initiative on HBCUs. And in fact, last year was the first time you and I had a chance to meet in person, way back before all that COVID stuff. And obviously a lot has happened since then with COVID and incidents of lethal racism and a lot of things going on in our country. So in the spirit and in light of recent events, I was just hoping maybe you would start off our little fireside chat with talking about, you're the only HBCU and a Hispanic serving institution that has both of those designations. So I just thought it'd be great just to start and share your thoughts on why are HBCUs and Hispanic serving institutions still important and still relevant given recent events and all that's going on in our country.
You know, let me begin with what you said at starting out. I'm the product of an HBCU, so I can really speak to the value. The HBCUs created higher education opportunities when all of the institutions would not allow us to enter simply because of the color of our skin. The HBCUs have demonstrated that they're even more relevant and more significant today because when you look at the product and the students that they produce, 70% of the professionals are coming out of HBCUs. We provide the wraparound services, we provide the nurturing, and making sure that it's more than just the academics that we're focusing in on. So, as I said earlier, they're most relevant, they continue to be relevant, and given all that is happening right now in our society, sadly, it pushes an increase in enrollment in our HBCUs. And then being in San Antonio, I'm an HSI. We proudly celebrate both of our dual designations, White House designations of being an HBCU and an HSI. So we're supporting the career pathways for students of color. And it is making a tremendous difference for us in our community. And we are providing a great service because one of the things that we do at St. Philip's College is that there are no entry-level requirements. We don't send out rejection letters. Mm-hmm. We take the masses and then we create career opportunities.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Thank you for that really powerful response, Dr. Loston. And, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that I am where I am today and my family is where it is today because of HBCUs. My wife is a proud Howard grad. Her parents were Central State. My grandfather went to Morehouse. And so HBCUs, just like you described, have provided that opportunity, that ladder. Same with the Hispanic serving institutions. They provide that entry ladder for opportunity and for wealth creation and for social mobility. And so thank you again for that powerful response. Dr. Lawson, the other thing that has happened recently is that St. Philip's, and I understand your mascot is the Tiger, so I'm just going to say go Tigers. You were recently recognized as one of the top 100 schools for serving Hispanic students, so congratulations on that. And I noticed as I was prepping for our discussion, and you touched on this in your last response, but the community is part of your mission, right? Like it's baked into who you are and what St. Philip's represents. And so, in particular, your mission says that you explicitly state combining educational attainment with career readiness and with being a vital facet of the local community socioeconomically. So can you just talk a little bit about that? I mean, there's this stereotype of higher ed as, the academy and the ivory tower, and we're distant from the community and we're distant, we're not worried about career readiness. We're just worried about academics, right? So talk a little bit about that if you have a.
Absolutely. One of the things that we did, and we were even seeking the Governor's Award for Performance Excellence, they asked, what are your core competencies? What are the things that you do best? And we identified 3 core competencies. We talked about programs for students, competency, student success, and supporting student engagement, academic engagement, but then the other was community engagement. That's the third anchor for us at St. Philip's College. We're not an ivory tower. Everything that we do, it's a focus on the community, and it's engaging with our communities where there are opportunities, whether they're academics or there are different programs, where we're highlighting events in the community. And we want the community to look to St. Philip's for the various programs, services, activities, initiatives, whatever may be taking place. Bring it to St. Philip's College, and we'll help support our community in whatever those endeavors are. And so one of our core competencies is community engagement, and we take that very seriously at all levels.
Yeah, this is a really powerful and a very differentiated model, and I think there's lots of other higher ed institutions that can learn from that example. And then, Dr. Lawson, about this connecting and seeing kind of inextricably linked this idea of educational attainment and career readiness. Can you talk a little bit about why that's so important at St. Philip's?
Well, in terms of we don't separate the two in terms of educational attainment and career readiness, because all of our programs are anchored to supporting whatever the workforce needs are in our community. We don't operate in a vacuum and saying we'll establish this program and then we'll send you out. No, we anchor to what are the needs, the readiness, the workforce readiness skills that our community is dictating that they necessarily need. And then we anchor our programs, our academic programs, to the needs of our community. We have all of our programs have advisory committee members. Even we have stretched to have advisory committee members or individuals in our community to help with us in informing what is happening, not only on the workforce side, but on the academic side. So we stay anchored and reality-based, if you will, in terms of where our students are going to be employed, because the majority of them are going to work in our community. And so we want them to be prepared. And in addition to that, even when we're talking about transferring to the universities, because with our heavily workforce programs, we have over a 90% job placement rate.
Wow.
And so all of our students, I say everybody that wants to work is working. Among the Alamo colleges, we have the highest job placement rate because we are truly anchored to the workforce skills that the business and industries in our community are saying are so vitally important to them. And they help us to develop the curriculum that the students are going to follow. And then the same is true when we even track the students that are in academic programs, transfer programs, and where they're working and how successful they are. So all of that, these are not mutually exclusive, but they are intertwined, and we engage, we encourage our students to be anchored in the community, giving them externships, internships, job shadowing opportunities. All of those are possibilities for helping them to learn what the industry and what the employer is going to expect. And so we have that, quite a bit of that in our programs, in all of our programs.
That's fantastic. And that's a great lead in, Dr. Loston, to the next part of our conversation. And I love the 90% job placement. I love the fact that the two are not mutually exclusive, that they can actually complement each other.
It's actually 93%.
Okay. All right. The more good news we can get, all the better. Every
Yes.
percentage counts. So
Yes.
And then I also just love the reality-based curriculum. That's just fantastic. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Loston, also part of the reason we're together today is that we've had a couple of really great partnerships and programs that we've ventured in on together, and that have benefited from your leadership and from St. Philip's great academic track record. And so I wanted to start by thanking you for that partnership, and I'm very proud of it and what we've been able to do in San Antonio. And you kind of talked about this kind of closed loop process of folks of the community going through the program and going through St. Philip's and then staying and returning and working in the community, which is really great. So I wanted to give you a chance to just brag a little bit and talk a little bit about the genesis of the work experience program that we've partnered on together, and now almost little over 3 years in, talk a little bit about what we've learned and barriers that we've overcome to create success.
Well, I think back, and you say 3 years, but the conversation began in 2016 in my conference room when you all appeared, and we began to talk about what are the possibilities. And then what has evolved has just been phenomenal in terms of St. Philip's College and the outcomes and the benefits for our students, because we have a very innovative public-private partnership. And we were talking about where we're engaging nonprofits with an academic institution to enhance student skills, digital skills, in particular in a promise zone, in the Eastside Promise Zone, because we live in the Promise Zone. And that is an area that is socio-economically underprivileged for our community. Is where we exist. But this was also, we had it as an objective for this public-private partnership, was to demonstrate that apprenticeships and internships were career pathways that could lead to having our students employed in underrepresented areas where they have been traditionally absent in the workforce, or in corporate America. And so this was important to us. One of the things that was most important is that we were the first HBCU to sign on with Accenture Federal Services. So I like to think of us again as trailblazers with this project, and it has been a wonderful success for us. Roughly about a fourth of our students have been employed by Accenture, and that is the ultimate goal. That helps us get to that 93% employment rate. And so when we're talking about our students that are graduating with degrees in cybersecurity or network administration or business administration, you've been right there. So with a fourth of our students knowing that they have a career option and an opportunity with Accenture, that's exciting for us because that again adds to our employment rate. We established, and you all have been in this partnership, we established this, what we call the 10-week experience program, where the students, and this was offered to the students throughout the year because they have different exit points, but they had classroom instruction and they had on-the-job training. And then, of course, one most important thing is that you have provided our students with mentoring. And that is so significant for our students to have access to mentors. But then it goes on a step further, because when we're talking about work-based opportunities, you've been a part of our career fairs, our job fairs, and you've had workshops with our students for resumes and interviewing skills. Those are significant elements to get the students over the hump and into the door of corporate America. So excited about all of those things that you have been doing. And when we started out, well, some of the things that we had to work through, I won't say challenges, but the things that we first had to work through was defining the ecosystem that would allow us to bring underprivileged, working in an area where there is an underprivileged community and creating opportunities. And so bringing the right people to the table to make this happen. And then, of course, trust, the element of trust. That's always very big. You know, people will show up and say, I'm going to do this, but it's developing a relationship of trust and everybody holding up their end of the bargain. And Accenture Federal Services has certainly done that. And as I said, when I checked in with the dean, she said, it's great It's wonderful, Dr. Loston. They've been great partners. They're hiring our students. And so that is what's most important to us, and putting them in middle income America immediately.
Yeah. So Dr. Lawson, thanks for that. And it's one of a few things that I would just add to that I think are just really important. First is, the spirit of partnership and innovation. And this, we have this idea like innovation only happens in, somebody's garage in the backyard in San Francisco, right? And some great partnership or some great company is going to come out of that. But we know that it comes out of your conference room and starting 4 years ago, and equally great ideas. And then,
I can brag, but I want you to share what the other side of the equation. It's not just me bragging. What have you got to say about us?
Absolutely. And I think that's some of the other things that I would just really want to underscore is the fact that our partnership has made us better at Accenture, and your students have made us better and better able to serve our clients and also work with our other community partners, and made our workforce better as a whole. And one of the things just to really underscore, Dr. Lawson, that for us it has, as well as yourself, been really exciting, and you alluded to it, is this idea of, in the East Side Promise Zone, where St. Philip's is located, the average family household income is $29,000, and the average person coming out of the program now is making around $50,000 on average.
Yes,
that huge jump. You talked about it as a jump to being part of the middle class, middle income, and that's super important. And then the other key thing to underscore is cyber and digital. It's about not just a job, it's about a career, right? And having that whole career ladder. And so, we've gone from that initial successful apprenticeship model, and we've created apprenticeship models, public-private partnerships all across the country. We're now in 27 different cities, and we've now had over 700 graduates of our different apprenticeship programs at Accenture, and we've now see our partnership continuing to evolve, right? And so we've now gone from that initial model to working with St. Philip's and Sam Houston High School, which is one of the primary feeders for St. Philip's, and also in that same East Side Promise Zone, to collaborate and to launch the Cyber P-Tech, and to, P-Tech is this innovative partnership where you end up with a high school diploma, the associate's degree, which is valued by industry, and the relevant work experience. And all three, come together and become more than the sum of their parts for the individual as they move forward. And so working with you as the key higher ed partner, and Accenture as the key business partner and anchor, has really made a difference as we've helped to shape that curriculum, as you called it, to make it reality based, and to help the high school with that. And then, as you mentioned, it's been really important for our people and our employees to be personally engaged and to serve and to make a difference by mentoring and job shadowing and providing those field and work experiences. So it's just been great all the way around. And so, and then the last but not least, in terms of this, as you described it, Dr. Loston, this idea that within 6 years, the graduates of the Cyber P-Tech are graduating with a no-cost associate's degree in cybersecurity. Again, a career, not a job, and they're graduating as proud Go Tigers. It's just really remarkable and great. So,
and if I can just say one quick thing.
Sure.
Even in the midst of the pandemic, we had over 500 some students to receive an I because they could not finish their work in the spring semester. Their internships, their externships, they all disappeared except for Accenture. You allowed our students to continue to work in the virtual environment. So when all of the other programs, CTE programs, were dealing with this issue, Accenture was still there. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for creating and maintaining those opportunities for our students in the midst of a pandemic, and helping us as we create a pathway for our high school students. We greatly appreciate this partnership. It's made a tremendous difference.
Fantastic. In Dr. Loston, I think that's one of the key things that I would just kind of share. And I know we're coming up on time pretty soon, but I think one of the key things that I would share as well is, the resiliency of St. Philip's in this really challenging time with COVID. It's been remarkable to see how you and the college and the university have adapted, and the resiliency of the faculty, the staff, and the students. And then lastly, I think part of what you touched on is really what I would, as talking to the audience more broadly, what I would advise in terms of how they can develop similar programs that work, and what those kind of key essential elements are. The first is you've got to establish that right ecosystem, and the prior panel before us talked about that as well. Finding the right partners where you can align on values and have that trust that you eloquently spoke about, and opening up and forming this partnership across nonprofits, government, academe, and business. The second key element is you've got to have that commitment. And you talked about the commitment in good times and bad, and right, and staying true to the commitment even amidst COVID and a downturn in the economy. And so you've got to have that commitment and be there and build up that trust. And then you also have to commit long term, right? It can't just be, hey, I'm going to be here for a month or a quarter or a semester. You got to be there long term and commit to that so that everybody can do the appropriate planning, because these are multi-year programs. And then the third and fourth things that I would just leave with everyone is you can't just advise, you got to do. You got to do the mentoring, interviewing, the commitment to hiring. And it's got to be about time and talent and treasure. And that you have to look at all the different parties, higher ed, government, nonprofit, and the business community as equals that are in this singular purpose of serving these really amazing students, and helping provide that way out and that way up. And then the last thing I would just say to the audience is, please feel free to contact me or Dr. Loston. You can hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter or email if you want a copy of our apprenticeship playbook, and also the playbook that we use for working with P-Tech and Cyber P-Tech. Happy to share that with others as we because we definitely need more businesses engaged in apprenticeships and creating the career pathways that Dr. Loston shared and talked about. And so with that, Dr. Loston, thanks so much for joining me today in this virtual fireside chat. Thanks for all that you do day in and day out for San Antonio and for St. Philip's and the broader Alamo colleges. And then thanks as well to the Chamber and to the Foundation.
And thank you for this opportunity. And at St. Philip's, we have declared this as the year of resiliency.
Awesome. There you go. Perfect.